Got another customer assault in for preseason. Big service on this one. Go through everything, 2,500 mile, give or take service. Bunch of upgrades along the way. So first things first, got it on the lift. Got to go through it, make my whole list, advise the customer on what I found, what needs to be addressed, what doesn't necessarily have to be done. And then him and I are going to go from there, come up with our plan of attack, what exactly we're going to do, what we're not going to do, upgrades in terms of clutching, some other stuff get into. I got a pipe to modify, things like that. So stay tuned, gonna get to checking this thing over. So this is all pretty usual. A-arm bushings are toast. You can see the big gap in here. Sometimes these do move a little bit, surprisingly. There's a torquing procedure where basically when you put it together, you want to push each one. So the rear ones, you want to push forward, the insert that houses the bushing and whatnot. There's this kind of post that goes across and then it goes inside the bushing. You have your washer to stop it against the shoulder of the bushing, yada yada. You tighten these up. This front one goes back, that one goes forward. But these are a little bit too far gone to do that, to get the slop out of them. There is, I don't know how visible this will be, kind of like the other Assault we did the other week. This has lower ball joints that are pretty well spanked as well. The uppers have a tiny, tiny bit of play, but not enough to where I'm going to warrant or recommend replacing them yet. Just kind of a monitor thing. And once they get a little bit worse, they're worth doing, but right now they're okay. Steering is mostly good. There's some play. And the upper bushing here, kind of normal. Depends on how picky and how perfect someone wants it to go back together. Got some smaller stuff. Missing a spring here. Oh. Oh, brother. This one's, not too bad. Doesn't spin that free, but this one's dickered, bro. That one, hang on. That one, the seal's gone. Still spins pretty good though. But this guy, I don't know if there's a seal in there. Yep, seal's still there, but it's not touching the track at all. Woof. Oof. We don't like that. You don't like hearing that. Ooh. Here's why checking the jack shaft bearing is important. You can see this one doesn't have much grease in it at all. Not a lot had really been thrown out of the bearing. I just don't think it was packed a lot or packed very well to begin with. Luckily, it doesn't look like it's really been overheated much at all. The grease that is in there is still decently colored. This is definitely coming up darker on the camera than it is in real life. But anyway, it doesn't look awfully burnt in there, which is a good sign. So I can go ahead and repack this thing and it should be good to go. It was really when they got to the matrix that they really started letting go up here, but they've always kind of had the dry bearing issue. So glad I checked this. As usual, you know, part of the whole process, preseason stuff. Gonna go ahead, repack that, seal that back up, and then move on to checking the driver bearing. Pop the cover off. You can see this thing's definitely had some water in it. So I'm curious when we get the seal out of there what that looks like. Yeah. We'll see what it's like inside. It's not the smoothest bearing, that's for sure. So as expected, you can see this is what happens when all the water gets in there with the grease. Just kind of turned into like a sludge. It's not even really greasy anymore. Oh yeah, this thing's cooked. I'm not even gonna bother re-greasing this. We're just gonna put a new one on it. This one's too far gone. Those big rust spots, if that's been run like that, more than likely a ball is pitted and then it kind of can drag on the race, and it's not worth it. I mean, I'm gonna have the skid and everything out to try and fix a little bit of tunnel bendage. So the skid's coming out anyway, especially when the shocks go back together. So chain case is also getting serviced, so I'll pop the cover. We're already gonna be 90% of the way there, so I'll just yank that driver out, throw a new bearing on that, and we'll be good to go. This hot rod looked over and gone through. Most of this stuff is really common on, you know, the 2,500-ish to 3,000 mile Polaris stuff, front end bushings. This one, again, has some lower ball joint wear that's a little bit excessive. All the idlers, surprisingly, all 8, actually, and the skid are pretty rough, as you saw in the clip there. Or if you didn't, I'll cut to it now. I don't know, I don't remember. I filmed it in different orders from how it's gonna get edited. So normally you'd see 2 or 3, maybe, you know, you'd see like 1 that's probably bad and then you'd have 2 or 3 that are questionable. This, all 6 are fried. So I don't know if it was low snow conditions or what the deal is there, but either way, those are shot. For the most part, it's not too bad. It's pretty much what is expected for the mileage. We've had a couple different things like the idler wheels. We didn't expect that. So gonna make up this list, advise the customer, and then we'll put together a plan for what we're gonna replace, what we're not. Most of it kind of needs to be done anyway. You know, unfortunately, it's not always the greatest to give people that news, but that's the way it goes. So gonna get that over to them and discuss some clutching stuff, and then hopefully get some parts ordered up in the next day or 2. New GoPro is kind of cool. I go right from time lapse into real footage. Didn't know they could do that. I can see I'm also out of frame a little bit. Damn, this thing's cool. Anyway, so I touched on this thing having this Assault having that goofy idle issue where the story was a little bit mixed up and it was hard for me to follow that one day they came out from riding or something, or they came out from camp or whatever, and the sled wouldn't run at all. They'd fire it up and it wouldn't fire, right? Sometimes it would kick over a little bit and then it would just die right out. So eventually they ended up disconnecting the kill switch, and then it would fire up and run, but it would stall out, and then it would fire up and run, it would stall out, and then when you touch the throttle, it'd get really weird. Well, long story short, I started thinking about it and I was like, I think it's the throttle safety switch, which they had some issues with. And if this thing sat outside at all during the summer or even out front of a dealership for a while or something like that, water can get into this switch and take it out. And sure enough, I got the switch out, went through, and I started using the ohmmeter. Ow, that's not cool. That could have been worse if it wasn't my nose. It could have been eyeball. Moving forward. Got the ohmmeter out, started testing everything. We have this rear resistor right here is bad. So there's no continuity across that resistor no matter what. Both sides of the prong are good, but that resistor is bad. So should be good to go. Plug the kill switch back in, get a new switch on the way. Everything should be back to normal. It's awesome to find something like this and not a damaged reed pedal or something goofy like that that causes this rough idle scenario. Whereas now it's just a switch. Kill switch can be back to operational, and yeah, not too bad. pretty wild to come the end of the winter. Like, this is considered warm. But yeah, we're about to hop in the rig and go deliver some shocks to be rebuilt for that Blue Assault. I don't know why I'm saying what sled. This is going to be in the video of that sled. So cool, dude. Second cup today. We're struggling a little bit on this frigid Tuesday again. All right, cool. See you later. All right, continuing on with the Assault here, 2019. Why do I keep telling you what it is? It's the same video. Continuing on with this, like I said, whipping up those shock rods now today. I didn't get to it yesterday. Gonna knock those out today, a little stand-in so I can move this thing around. Going to go ahead and also modify this pipe. It's an old Dynoport one for the 800. Needs a bung switched around. Someone used it on some sort of race application. It's got a bung for a wideband. Instead of cutting that out, I'm just gonna plug that one. The other EGT type port, I gotta switch the thread pitch, so we're just gonna cut the old bung out, weld the new one in, and then that'll be it for this video. I'll wrap it up with that, and then there'll be a part 2 of all the clutching and everything else, upgrades, and then putting everything back together. Old bung is out of there. Used the band file and got relatively flat surface to put the new flat machined bung on. So we'll see how it welds up. Hopefully we'll have it looking a little better than this side over here, but we'll see. It's been ceramic coated over this. I didn't go nuts with a wire wheel or anything trying to get in there. There's a couple tiny small spots where I didn't get it all out of there, but we'll see how it goes. It smells funny. Certainly not the best, certainly not the worst. Material wasn't great on either end really, but came out okay. Just finished the compression check on here. Forgot to hit record on that. Good job. Go me. Anyway, 128 on the mag side, 130 on the PTO. Every gauge is different. Every elevation is going to read differently. So the compression check is really just a baseline. So like when you get a new sled, check it and then monitor it periodically to make sure it's not deteriorating drastically. With me having no history on this, it's not really any sort of tool other than to say, yeah, okay, it's within the ballpark range of where it should be. Good to go. That's pretty much that. Throwing new plugs in, going with the BR9 EYAs, NGK plug. Same heat range as the factory plug. There's some internal differences that I haven't found to cause any issues long term. I've run them for the last several years. They've been great. They improve idle stability just a little bit, and they're slightly less prone to fouling as well. So if you want to try them out, go for it. I've been running them for several years. They've treated me great. I haven't seen any negatives to switching over to that plug. On my boost, I definitely noticed idle stability increased. It was a little bit smoother across the board. Put them in the 650, didn't notice any difference in that thing. So take that for what it's worth, I guess. That's gonna do it for the first half of this one. Everything's back together for the most part. Parts are ordered up, waiting for all that stuff to come in, and then we'll pick it up with part 2 of putting the clutching stuff in, going through the chain case, driver bearing, front end bushings, ball joints, all the rest of the stuff that's on the list I got over there. Yeah, so keep your eyes out for part 2.